I know she's verbally aggressive, but not. This is like the first time she's now physically aggressive now. She just clocked him in the face. The next day, a pleasant Sunday. Soujiro was awake 2 hours before the time he was supposed to meet her. After getting up, he decided to go for a leisurely jog to clear his mind. But, lost among his own thoughts, his 30-minute jog turned into almost an hour upon realizing he rushed home. After thoroughly racking his brain over what to wear for the occasion, he decided upon wearing his school uniform. Oh. Well, doesn't he have like any other clothes besides that?
午前10時、三崎中央公園の東入り口で待ち合わせ。
Oh. Wait, why did the teacher requested Soujiro in the photo? It doesn't even tell you specifically. I don't know. It's either his tactic because he's just afraid of Aoko in the first place, or it's just like, oh, maybe there's some sort of request in mind when it comes to him. Yesterday in the faculty room, when Aoko Aozaki had shared the time and place with him that day, she said it was such pain on her face, maybe she was fighting a headache at the time. You always have a headache.
しかし、青崎の風邪は治っているのだろうか。
Soujiro muttered, his words of concern, misguided as they were. In any case, he waited for about 5 minutes. At precisely 10 o'clock, the student council president appeared.
おはよう。いつものことだけど、時間だけはぴったりよね、あなた。
Feels like he's called out.
ひどい顔ね。もしかして気分悪いの？
Or maybe he couldn't tell if it's a compliment.
いや、体調はいいと思う。
He waved off her concern.
だがしかし、青崎は制服だった。
ええ、学校の行事だもの。当然でしょ？
A heavy weight of despondency fell upon Soujiro's shoulders. The angsting over his outfit for the previous 2 hours had been rendered meaningless just like that. The duo, clad in their school uniforms on a day off, walked by the train station. But this is like the second time they're gonna do this on the deck on a day off. God damn it. In the beginning, Aoko had made efforts to give Soujiro a thorough lay of the land, but today she only shared the bare minimum of explanations. This was partially because, surprisingly, Soujiro had become well accustomed to the town. Which restaurants were good, which shortcuts to use in a rush, and why the nearby bicycle shop was better than the department store by the station if you wanted to buy a bicycle. Things a local would know. But the other reason was that it had dawned on Aoko how the two of them conversing might look to passers-by. A fucking face. Oh boy.
話は変わるけど、具体的にどんな労働内容なのか、そろそろ聞いていいかな。
From here on, volunteering at the church meant that the school would tolerate his multiple jobs. Soujiro had quickly agreed to the tempting offer, nodding like a bobblehead, but as was typical for him, he had failed to consider the content of the proposal.
まあ、そんなことだろうと覚悟はしてたけど。あなた、間教会は初めて？
教会なら2回目だ。珍しい建物なんで近寄ったら、中の人がタダでお菓子をくれたんだけど。
He pondered with all sincerity how exactly a church worked. His contemplative posture made him appear the part of the philosopher, but after all his thinking, he concluded, I guess they start taking your money on your second visit? Such was the extent of Soujiro's concerns.
普通そういうことは子供にしかしないんだけどね、あの教会は。
Aoko sighed at the lost little lamb. Wait, what? So you mean to tell me they're treating Soujiro like a child?
で、どんな人に会ったの？神父？それともシスター？
それは綺麗な女の人だった。
じゃあゆいかさんの方ね。今日会ったらお礼をって必要ないか。あんたのことだからそのあたりはきちっとしてるだろうし。
What?
仕事の話なら簡単よ。学校でやってることと変わらないから。あの教会、規模の割に人数が少ないのよ。
Aoko picked up her pace as they headed for the church. Somehow, she seemed like a general invading enemy territory. It made Soujiro furrow his brows in discomfort. Every time. Literally every time, the way she conducts her method of walking. Oh, that's wonderful. So this is what the church would look like. Aida Church had a long history. Far from the station, it was a white painted sanctuary nestled between the business and residential districts. As far as Aoko could remember, the church as she knew it now was the result of remodeling done 8 years prior. It was practically a cathedral for a town of this size. Incidentally, located next to it was the Mizaki City General Hospital. From Aoko's perspective, it seemed awfully suspicious for the church to take up residence next to the location in the city where the most lives were lost. Though the only two who were aware of this opinion were her roommates Alice Kuonji and the priest.
青崎はこの教会に縁があるのか？
私はこれっぽっちも。もう過去に戻って改ざんしたいぐらいみじんもないけど、うちの父と祖父は長い付き合い。ここの手伝いなんて、忌々しいことに小学生の頃は毎日してたもんだけど。
I see. So even she has her own problems from the past. The more Aoko spoke, the more twisted her expression became. Recalling this made her want to grab it by the proverbial collar, give it the proverbial one-arm judo back throw, smash its proverbial head into the proverbial ground, and kick the proverbial living daylights out of its defenseless proverbial torso. Jeez, how many times the sentence uses the word proverbial? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it uses proverbial 6 times within the sentence because to avoid profanity within that matter. Profanity was in the description of violence. Like, lovely. Such was her so-called trauma that if it were anthropomorphized, if whatever you call it, it would take more than a 5-round beating to satisfy her thirst for vengeance. That's quite a lot of spite within her.
おう。
See, even he's confused. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, what the hell's going on with her? It was in this moment, as he became aware of Aoko's mood, that Soujiro began to fear for his safety. I mean, we already seen Aoko punch the teacher in the face within a comedic fashion. So I perhaps attracted by the noisy murder of crows outside the church, a woman in a nun's habit emerged from the front entrance.
失礼ですが、どちらのお客様でしょう?
Oh, nun chick.
当教会は暴力団関係の方はご遠慮いただいておりますので、日を改める、あるいは生き方を悔い改めた後、社会的な罪を償ってから門をくぐっていただきたいのですが。青崎青子です。シスターユイカ。まあ、青子さんでしたか。驚きました。昼間のうちにあなたが来るのは久しぶりです。そうですね。いつもは夜に呼ばれて神父様とだけお話をしていますから、ユイカさんとは。まあ意外ですね。1年近くまともにお話をしていません。ま、この先だって一度もないでしょうけど。
Who knows how long it'll be until the next time? He really doesn't. She's not a big fan of having to visit.
ええ、あなたも随分と立派になられたようで、がっかりです。何より、今の気配は清らかな少女とは思えないほど悪辣でした。
On the surface, the two exchanged congenial greetings. Unable to read between the lines, all Soujiro could see were two good friends. I mean, are they good friends? It's from the look of expressions, the complete opposite.
今月のボランティアは私とそこの彼です。親愛なる間協会のためですから、10時から3時まで1分の狂いもなくきっかり働かせていただきますわ。
Oh, so no overtime allowed. Got it.
まあ、世も末ですが歓迎しますね。神の家は万人に等しく開くもの。この際、あなたの内面は見なかったことにしておきましょう。
The nun flashed a smile that was equal parts elegant and cruel. Keeping up appearances aside, she seemed overjoyed to have able hands to put to work. The sister introduced herself as Yuika Susi. Oh, I thought the miswording there is going to be like sussy. Susei? Oh, God. What am I to do from here? And thanked Soujiro, who had volunteered of his own volition. Soujiro noticed that her eyes were always shut, but not wanting to be rude, especially in front of Aoko, he decided not to pry. Yep. He's just going to mind his own business. He's not going to question why her eyes were always shut. Because it would be rude.
しずきさんとおっしゃるのですね。声のイメージ通り、落ち着いたお名前です。
はあ、それはどうも。
Well, thank you, I suppose. The sister let slip a frown as Soujiro's ambivalent response to her compliment.
失礼。名字で呼ばれるのはお嫌いのようですね。宗十郎さんでよろしいですか？
え？いや、 どっちでもいいですけど。
ではそのように。ほんと難儀なことですね。
Yeah, this music is sure something else. Though the sister's tone was gentle, her words seemed somewhat indifferent. She lacked the sight, but she guided the two with certainty in her step.
それで奉仕の内容ですが。
Yeah, what are these two going to be doing this time?
分かってます。クリスマス前だし、面倒な掃除を済ませておきたいんでしょ。問題ありません。そういうの得意ですから。
It wasn't their strong suit, quote unquote, as much as it was Sojiro's.
では、青子さんはかまどの方で聖兵の作り置きを。しずきさんは外に。私どもでは手の届かない箇所の清掃をお願いします。
So what you're saying is Aoko is going to be the cook. He's going to do the cooking while Shizuki or Sojiro is going to do the difficult cleaning.
ちょっと待って。台所にリツカのやついないでしょうね。こんなところであんなのに会うなんてごめんだから。リツカは留守です。ですので、どうぞ気兼ねなく。
Ritsuka, with a dismissive wave, Aoko headed toward the door in the back of the worship hall. As she had indicated, she was quite accustomed to this church.
しずきさんはこちらに。まずは物置から清掃道具を運んでいただきます。
This will be fun. The work entrusted to Sojiro did not require any particular skill. It was window cleaning at its most standard.
窓を全部拭けばいいんですね。
水拭きと空拭き、その後にコートスプレーもお願いします。はしごの高さは足りますか？
I don't know about how tall I don't know about the ladder being tall enough. The question is how is the ladder safe?
あれ、ちょっと足りないっぽいですね。
Oh, lovely.
では届く範囲で結構ですので、よろしくお願いします。
What? You don't have a different ladder? Like, Sojiro is not a tall dude. After the brief exchange, the sister returned to the church. Sojiro began to wonder if it was out of distrust in him that she was being so curt. He understood that it was too soon to glean an answer from their first meeting, but then again, such answers always eluded Sojiro. Left alone, but no less encouraged, Sojiro began cleaning the windows. The day's weather was a disappointment once again. It had not gone so far as to rain, but was too overcast to enjoy the sun. He leaned against the tall ladder and, beginning with a window about 5 yards from the ground, quietly cleaned. Sojiro was never the kind of person to mind physical labor. In fact, if there had been a blue sky, this might have been a perfect day off to him. Well, too bad it's winter. By the time he finished his third or fourth window, he felt very relaxed and began to whistle. Though 15 feet was an intimidating height, it provided a wonderful view at the same time. Turning toward the town gave Sojiro a clear view of the tree-topped hill that had previously caught his eye.
やっぱり林の中に家があるような。
The hill in the woods just outside the town. From here, the forest overlooking the sleepless city looked like a foreign castle. If he's mentioning the house in the woods, I am assuming this is the house that Aoko and Alice lives on.
あれ？なになに泥棒さん？
Just then, lost in his thoughts while wiping windows, Soujiro was pulled out of his trance by someone pacing below him. He looked down and saw a girl, her unkempt clothes otherwise contrasting with her kind visage.
でもちょっと怪盗には似合わないのんびり屋さん風味。どっちかっていうとあれかしら。暖炉から現れては微妙にいらないおもちゃを押し付けるセイントみたいな。うわぁ、私あのヒゲ苦手なのよね。だってどう見ても不法侵入者じゃないあの人。
She looked to be in her late 20s. Despite the cold, she was not wearing a coat. She had no purse either, which was rather strange as a woman and her purse were never far apart. Not that Soujiro knew this truth quite yet. Based on the fact that none of this seemed to apply to her, one could have easily surmised that she was herself a little loosey-goosey, quote-unquote. A few cards short of a full deck, one might also say.
あ、私ピンときたわ。君、ミサコのバイトの子？偉いわ。今時の高校生は業者さん顔負けなのね。
Oh, okay, well, at least you're not jumping the gun there. The girl looked up in admiration to Soujiro as he stood atop his ladder.
よーし、私も手伝っちゃおうかな。はしごはまだある？他の雑巾は？どうせだからホースで水をかけるのはどうかしら。こうバーッとケルヒョーとか叫びながら。罰当たりだけど、それなら少しぐらいは楽しくなりそうじゃない？
I have no words on this other than whether it's actually okay. The girl let out a hearty laugh. Her smile glowed like a cactus that had sprouted legs and begun to run about. Inasmuch as a running cactus could only cause trouble. As Soujiro anticipated, the girl began to clean without waiting for his approval. Oh, ain't that great.
いえ、教会の前を通ったら人影っぽいのが窓にへばりついてるのが見えちゃったの。昼間っから泥棒とか豪快だなーってちょっと興味惹かれちゃって。
You think that Soujiro in a school uniform makes in her perspective he of him being the burglar?
そしたら可愛い子が真面目に労働してたわけ。窓拭きの達人みたいにビッとかっこよく。そんなの見せられたら手伝いたくなるのが人情じゃない？
Wiping the window next to Soujiro, the girl continued to chatter cheerfully. Although this was all kinds of suspicious, Soujiro politely followed her lead, nodding and agreeing as she spoke. Perhaps it was an instinctive camaraderie. He sensed this girl was just like him, always getting the short end of the stick when it came to menial work.
あなたは教会の人なんですか？
私？いえ、ただの通りすがりよ。
Randomly passing by.
それより、あなたってのは他人行儀ね。君とは商店街で何度も会ってるのに。
Wait, what?
いや、会ってませんよ。
会ってます。君、魚達さんでバイトしてる子でしょ？今週だけでも何度か行ってるもん、私。私はそうね、花沢って言うんだけど、君の名前は？
Hanazawa took a quick glance at the flower bed below in the middle of her introduction, then gave him a friendly laugh. Soujiro's self-introduction, however, was his usual brand of awkward.
宗十郎さん。いい名前ね。古風な感じで。名前に数字が入ってるとなんか日本人って感じがしない？ここの神父さんとかシスターの名前知ってる？エイリとかユイカとか、なんか外国風なんだけど。
I know about Yuika, I'm pretty sure, but not Eri. So.
エイリさんはともかく、ユイカさんは綺麗な黒髪の女の人でしたよ。
あら、神父さんにはまだ会っていないのね。愛田教会の美形神父と美人姉妹って言ったら有名なんだけど。あ、そうか。さては君、最近引っ越してきたんでしょう。しかも一人暮らしと見たわ。
I mean, I'm sure he's doing just fine. I mean, it could be wrong though.
そうですけど、花沢さんすごいですね。さっきからあまりにも的確な当てずっぽうです。
いえいえ、推理と言ってくれたまえ。
Deductive reasoning.
君ぐらいの子がアルバイトに精を出すほどこの町の娯楽は魅力的じゃないもの。遊ぶお金ならバイト一件で賄えちゃうわ。君は物欲のあるタイプじゃなさそうだし。となるとこれはもう生活費のためと考えるのが健全でしょ。まあ学生さんが生活費も学費も自分だけで賄うなんてのは健全じゃないんだけど。
いや、そうでもないですよ。働かざる者食うべからずです。
そっか。宗十郎さんは若いのに立派ね。私も学生の頃はバイト三昧だったから少しは君の大変さもわかるわよ。
なんと花沢さんも一人暮らしだったんですか？
ええ、親の反対を押し切ってよその国に留学しちゃったの。あっちには友達もいたから下宿先には困らなかったけど、さすがに食費ぐらいは稼がないとね。けどまあこう見えて肉体労働は苦にならないタイプだし、学院もバイトも楽しい思い出になってるわ。
Wow. Soujiro nodded agreeably. Dignified or not, he could barely hold back the sense of solidarity that was welling up within him.
これも何かの縁だし、魚達さんではこれからお世話になりそうだし、頼りないだろうけど相談事があったらぜひ言ってね。精神面で力になるわ。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ早速ですけど、ここは何をするところなんでしょう？
As Soujiro said here, quote unquote, he pointed at the church.
えっと
Even Hanazawa was taken aback by his question. Unaware of Soujiro's provincial background, combined with her quick-witted nature, Hanazawa seemingly mistook his question for some kind of sophisticated wit.
そうね。
Well, I know it's a
心
church.
の安全を扱っているというのはどうかしら。いえ、安全というよりは鎧？継ぎはぎのバリケード？とにかく本人はちっとも鍛えられないってことは同じよね。あとはパンとワインも分けてくれるわね。
無料でですか
Free bread.
もちろん。止めるものは勝手に置いていくって話。あとはそっか、これが一番大きいんだけど、収入に税金がかからない。心の安全は扱いが難しいけど、きちんと売り物にできればノーリスクハイリターンよ。
はあ、よくわからないですけど、ピンチの時はここに転がり込めばいいんですね。
それはおすすめしないな。ご利用は月に1回、気休め程度にした方がいいと思う。
The rags squeaked as the two carefree souls continued to wipe down the windows. Whistling as they went, they shined up one window, then another, then another.
そうだ、もう一つあります。ここから見えるあの森、何ですか？
森？あの山の上にある森のこと？
ですけど、あれは山じゃなくて丘というべきです。
I mean, if it was a mountain, it would have been way higher up. As someone raised in the countryside, Sojiro's pride would not allow for a mound of dirt to be called a mountain.
そう？あれはあれで結構登るのに体力使うんだけど、ま、そっちの方がよりらしいわね。
Oh, she doesn't know. She doesn't know about she doesn't know that about Soujiro, him being the real countryside man. It was as if a shadow fell over her till now sunny disposition. She was undoubtedly a beautiful woman with very lovely features. But as Soujiro looked at her in that moment, her smile melted away, and he saw how disturbed she was at his comment. And when it comes down to it,
あれは丘です。それとほら、ここから煙突みたいなの見えますけど、あれは何ですか
？Soujiro was not one to closely watch people's reactions and fuss over his speech.
あれは本物の煙突よ。あの森は全部私有地なんだけど、その中にでっかい洋館が建っているの。でも私有地だから地元の人間も入ったことはないんじゃないかしら。通称クオンジのお化け屋敷ってね。近所の皆さんは気味悪がってるし、あんまり近寄らない方がいいんじゃない？あんな小さな森なのに遭難したとか野犬が出るとか物騒な話には事欠かないから。
So you mean to tell me if I walk over that hill, like I'm gonna completely disappear for good? That's
野犬って都会にも野犬？
たくさんいるわよ。この教会の裏手の空き地にだっているし、ここの神父さんは物好きだからパンとかあげちゃって、それでワンちゃんの巡回ルートになっちゃってるんでしょうけど。とにかく君子危うきに近寄らずよ。あの森には入らないのが町のルールなの。
So what you're saying is curiosity will kill the cat. Lovely.
そもそも私有地だし、入ったらおまわりさんを呼ばれちゃって、そのまま交番でお説教タイムなんてあんまり楽しくないでしょ。
I'm pretty sure they're gonna do more than just call the cops, but okay. If you say so. Soujiro nodded along to her story as he stared at the far-off chimney from his vantage point on the ladder. A teeny tiny part of him was curious about that hill because it reminded him of the woods where he grew up. But after reminding himself that it was none of his business, he returned to window washing. Great. Thanks to Hanazawa lending a hand, they were able to finish the job without a hitch. Between the two of them, they had accomplished a simple but very time-consuming task.
はい、ご苦労様でした。あれだけ砂まみれだった窓が見違えたわね。どう？これから適当な茶店でお茶にしない？宗十郎さんの仕事っぷりに敬意を表して、私がおご。
What?
はい。何か言いました花沢さん。
What's going on?
いや、ごめんなさい。休養を思い出しちゃった。花沢さんはここで失礼するのでした。チャオ。
Ciao. By the time Soujiro, who had started putting away the ladder, turned around, he was only able to catch a glimpse of the girl's figure dashing toward the street at lightning speed. I'm getting the feeling that Hanazawa is her love. I guess the love interest is Soujiro in Hanazawa's perspective, that is. Oh boy. we really going into we really going high up on that one. It was just before 3 o'clock. More than 3 hours had passed since Hanazawa offered to help. Wait, 3 hours to clean some fucking windows? Oh shit. I mean, I get it because we have to move the ladder like, one at a time when it comes to windows high up. Soujiro watched a girl with many strange faces disappear. For someone who seemed to have been on an aimless walk, Hanazawa had spent a good deal of time with them. Maybe helping Soujiro out reminded her of something she needed to do.
Shizuki-kun, そっちにいるの?
Oh, she appeared. The student council president popped her head out from the corner of the church.
あ、声かけてごめん。いいから作業に専念。
The sight of Soujiro putting away a ladder taller than himself seemed to have provoked an emotional response in Aoko. Then, in an instant, she rolled up her sleeves and began to approach him. This surprised him more than Aoko's sudden appearance. Ignoring Soujiro's bewilderment, Aoko promptly began issuing orders.
はしご、横に倒していいわよ。下の方は私が持つから、あなたは上の方をお願い。
She did all of this so matter-of-factly that Soujiro began lowering the ladder before he even had a chance to insist that he could do it by himself. With work finished and the sisters' thank you gifts in hand, the two put the church behind them. Since Aoko apparently had something to do around the station, they decided they would walk together until they got there.
でも、本当にアルバイト慣れしてるのね。
Yeah, no kidding. Beneath the orange-tinged sky, Aoko spoke more as though she was expressing her thoughts out loud than striking up a conversation.
そうか。青崎から見てそうなら少しは嬉しいな。
Soujiro gave her an earnest smile. But then again, he had been beaming ever since he received his pay, so the source of his joy was not so clear.
あのね、あなたは普段が問題ばっかりなんだから、あんまり調子に乗らないように。差し引きゼロっていうか、まだまだマイナスなんだから。
God, again with that face, though.
学校のことは言われると悲しくなる。
Soujiro hung his head dejectedly. Even if his job had been going well, school was still a bust. Exams were one thing, but even classwork was something he had found himself falling behind in.
青崎は成績悪いやつは嫌いか？
まあ、頭というか巡りの悪い人との話は疲れるでしょうね。でも、あなたはそれ以前だし、そもそも私にはこれっぽっちも関係ないし。
Dealing with lame brains. In my wording, she doesn't like dealing with brain-rotted students.
でっかいハンデを何とかするのは先生たちの仕事で、それに応えるのはあなたの役目。アルバイトもいいけど、帰ったらきちんと予習やっときなさいよ。
それはもちろん学校の人たちはみんないい人だ。
そうならいいけど、みんないい人？
Everyone is good people is a debatable. Aoko cocked her head to one side, unsure how this exchange had resulted in that response. She decided to interpret it as Soujiro simply expressing his gratitude in his own peculiar way.
ところで
I guess that's a figure of speech coming from him.
参考までに聞くんだけど、あなた他にどんなバイトしてるの？
どこって商店街が多い。魚のお店とか花の店とか。あ、でも昨日は隣町まで遠出したな。遊園地のアルバイト。
Since the only school authorized locations were in the Mizaki shopping district, his response was much as she expected. That is, except for the decidedly unexpected last part. What was the last part? Oh, the amusement park. That's probably why.
遊園地ってヤシロギの？
そう。使わなくなった看板とかオブジェとか解体して運び出したんだ。さすがに疲れたな、あれは。
へえ、うん、それは体力勝負でしょうね。
This left Aoko rather impressed. Transporting unused amusement park machinery was not a job that students did willingly in their free time.
でもいいな。私キッチーランドって一度も行ったことないの。三崎町に住んでるのに。
Aoko looked up in the direction of the neighboring town. From here, you could just barely make out the Ferris wheel. Oh, the Ferris wheel on the bottom left. The round steel frame of the wheel, illuminated by the sunset as it was reminiscent of an old gravestone.
そうか。それは金銭的な理由で。
I guess she's trying to hold in her laughter. Aoko had to stifle her laughter. Yeah, that's what I thought. She knew it would be rude to Soujiro to burst out laughing, but the remark tickled her funny bone. That's a shame. Is it because you're broke?
そういうんじゃなくて、単純にあれが開園してから立て込んでて遊びに行く暇がなかっただけよ。お金で解決する問題だったらそれこそ今すぐに行ってるわ。
Aoko showed Soujiro the envelope that contained the pay from the church. There was nothing sinister about her remark and gesture, but the fact that she did not jump at the chance to go made Soujiro sad.
それなら今度行けばいいじゃないか。
ありがとう。けどそれは無理な話。あんたのことだから気づいていないと思うけど、あれ潰れてるのよ。
He's out here trying to requesting a date at the amusement park.
廃園になってからもう2年以上は経つんじゃない？
なんと。
What do you mean it closed down? It was no wonder there were no customers all the time he was there. Exasperated as she was at Soujiro, the student council president seemed to be enjoying herself. Wait. If the amusement park was closed down, why is he offered the job there? At this point, she would be yelling things at Soujiro like, I can't believe you didn't know that, but this evening, this one and only evening, she found it charming. They parted ways, and Soujiro returned home to his apartment, immersed himself in his studies, and before he knew it, it was time to go to work. The major cultural difference, though certainly not the only point of difference between city and country, was the use of time. It did not matter what part of the city he was in, time flowed far too quickly here. Failing to squeeze even a drop of knowledge from his textbooks, he put them away for the day before heading into town. There, he gets no break. As usual, the night grew deeper as today turned into tomorrow. Soujiro reversed his collar to protect his neck from the bitter cold and began to make his way back home. Not a soul to be seen, no dogs scrounging for food, no late-night shoppers. Why would there be? The solitary convenience store in the area closed at 11 o'clock. He mustered what little energy he had to take in an especially deep breath. Man-made landmarks lined the deserted street. Garish blue fluorescent light, brighter than the stars above, illuminated the darkness. An unconscious sense of anxiety stirred within him.
情けない。夜が怖いのは当たり前じゃないか。
A chill crept up his spine as he attempted to mask his weakness with words. Stay out of the dark. Stay away from deserted places, whether it was for some deeper reason or perhaps the fact that he looked so helpless. Everybody he had met in his life seemed to warn him with those words.
そうは言ってもしょうがないし、だいたい。
What did that even mean, stay out of the dark? Nowhere in the city was without light. Everywhere, from the bustling train station to the remote residential areas, was illuminated by artificial light, not least the main roads. Scary was scary, but this kind of fear was of a different sort than what he'd felt in the mountains. The most likely source of his fear was the fact that this place was governed by starkly different rules. The way in which the city meted out justice was terribly imbalanced. And to the provincial Soujiro, his lack of familiarity with the laws of the land terrified him far more than the dark. In the mountains, retribution came swiftly to those who broke the rules. Take a game trail, for example. Those who unwittingly trespassed on the animal kingdom's domain would, as a matter of course, be savaged by the native wildlife. Accordingly, in Soujiro's mind, an offender paid a price for one's mistakes immediately. It was not a matter of who punished whom, it was simply that the one who broke the rules would meet instant, tangible retribution. He felt that, in this regard, the laws of the city were far too ambiguous. One could meet their demise without ever knowing whether one was in the right or wrong.
けど、基本的には変わらないんだよな、多分。
To put it simply, retribution was delayed. To take the analogy a step further, back home in his village, no one individual had been given the responsibility of maintaining order. In the city, however, someone was put in charge of punishing lawbreakers on behalf of the kind-hearted citizens who lived there. While crime and punishment in the mountains were synonymous, in the city, the two were separated, and an unrelated person brought judgment after the crime had been committed. Entering places that must not be entered, seeing things that must not be seen, breaking a law had consequences. Someone would come to exact justice for the law that was broken. Is there like some sort of similarity within the Tide Moon meme, just like people die when they are killed in this one? Because this is There was something in there somewhere. The result of all this was that the safest way to survive the city was not to stick your nose in the affairs of others. No shit. When the people who cared about Soujiro told him to stay away, quote unquote, they probably meant, if you don't, nobody will be able to help you.
といけない。また近道しそうになった。
No matter how much of a nuisance these obstacles were, one could not just climb over a neighbor's fence, even when one's apartment was just the other side. If the people inside happened to be awake and called the police, nobody would lift a hand to help him. Play it safe, I guess. With his misguided view of the city, Soujiro once again ended his day in peace. Unable to fall asleep right away, he gazed out his window upon the night sky from the floor of his apartment. The cityscape had caused him to tremble in fear when he first moved here. The convenience of solving almost any problem with the flip of a switch. The novelty of living a wall away from a complete stranger. It all disappeared into the night sky when he looked up.
こんな空もあるのか。
Unconsciously, he recalled his own words. What dim stars. What a cramped sky. Here, there were no starry nights. Could he even survive here? The same misgivings since his first night continued to haunt him. His eyelids fell shut. Although he was fraught with worry, Soujiro's body felt the fatigue from his work and studies, and thus he fell fast asleep. Yeah. Ending the day from there. Lovely. I mean, that's what I learned from Volume 3, right? Volume 3 is the daily night patrol on Alice's part, and Volume 4 is the usual volunteer work at the church. Makes me wonder about that. The odd part is I went an hour and 45 minutes without savings. Okay. Well, I'll come back to that later to read the second chapter. So that'll conclude it from here.